Hi, I'm Daniel Holter. I'm a producer-composer based in Seattle, Washington. I thought I'd do a little track breakdown of a song that I just released with my buddy Owen Sartori under my producer moniker Holtergeist. It's a song called 30,000 Feet. I thought I would just do a track-by-track breakdown because I see people do this and I'm always into it, so I assume maybe other people are into this kind of thing. We did some cool things in here, I think, that were pretty unique, in terms of making a track that had, I think people are going to perceive the vocal stack as a vocoder. It's not, although it has a similar effect. Our vocal from Owen, the way we treated it, ended up sounding computerized and synthesized very intentionally. And I can walk you through some of how we did that. Got some of my own sample pack sounds in here. My Holtergeist sample packs. I've got some Foley and sound design and wind and airplane noises and things like that. I've got some live drums. We've got some live guitar. We've got live Rhodes. And some interesting treatments with glitches and using the microcosm to create some textures. So let's look at what's going on here. I think I'll play through the whole song and just click around a little bit while it's playing and kind of think about what maybe I want to highlight when it's done playing. Let's do that. Here we go. And a long outro. I love that texture so much, I just figured we'd let it ride for a bit. Anyway, that's the full song. Let me solo up a couple things here and see what we did to build this. I've got a couple of my kicks and a couple supersized kicks. I don't know where those are from, actually. Is that Sterloid, maybe? Or, that's another sample pack. I'm combining some of my stuff with some other sampleists and making this part here. This is the basic kick. I'm running that supersizer through a big verb, a filter, a little limiter, a little filter EQ. And then later, this kick becomes an accent here. Later in the arrangement, this part here is another kick that I'm adding some extra verb and filtering to. Just a little bit longer, decay moment. Just in between a couple of those. There's another kick here that comes in. Lots of kicks. I love drum sounds. I love layering drum sounds for sure. Let's go to this region here. You hear another one of my kicks. Subtle layer. And then I added I had Devin Drobka playing drums on this tune. Kept it for just the outro, really. This section over here. But I loved the overhead had this cool little glitch in it that I grabbed and treated as a sample for an earlier part of the song, this first chorus. Here's just this overhead from Devin, just a single hit that I grabbed and looped. It's got some headphone bleed in there, just creating that fun extra texture. So this, when this first chorus kicks in, this is what this sounds like here. Here it is without that. Like way more character with it, right? I love that. That was just happenstance from the headphone bleed in Devin's overheads and from this later part of the tune. So actually, here's that. I'll play you the Devin Drobka on kit here. That's this part. So you can hear even some of the bleed happening in this part. And I looped some sections. This is not really a performance from Devin. He's a fantastic jazz drummer. Plays in Field Report, which is how I met him, thanks to Chris and Field Report. We've done a bunch of projects together. I've mixed some of his solo records, and he's played on other stuff that I've produced. I kind of hemmed him into a box on this and just needed some live drums. So forgive me, Devin, for kind of chopping you up to oblivion here. That whole kit is routed through this retro color plugin. Let's see what happens here. What's this doing? Just a little VHS action, not much of anything. And then the Wolf compressor from Goodhertz, which is doing quite a bit. Here's without that. Taking all that front end off and the hi-hat top end of the snare, creating just this pumpy groove, which I love, especially in the end of the tune there. We added some orchestral elements. I believe these are from Spitfire Audio. They might be piano book samples. I honestly don't remember. It's been a minute since we did this track. But there are these winds here, which I'm quite confident are from one of their orchestral collections. I think this is me playing these samples. It might have been Owen. We were just collaborating on all this stuff and throwing everything at it. I think I did this after the fact, though, after our initial session. What happened with this crossfade here? It's probably me screwing up and needing to punch this. A little more rise. Yeah, going into this this moment here. Let's drop off. Did a few things there to enhance that drop-off moment. I love building things to these little, I like to call them cliffhangers or drop-offs, where things like kind of the foundation kind of gets pulled out from underneath you and you're left suspended a bit, which I thought really fit the vibe of this song and the lyric. There's also some brass happening here along with those winds. Just did a fade. I played it for this whole time, but I just brought it in for the end for this rise. Again, just sampled brass, I think, from Spitfire. That whole brass arrangement is on the end of the song here. Real subtle layer. And sprinkled throughout, there's, I mean, all these little accents are things that I either recorded or made or used from sample packs. I believe a couple of them are from my Holtergeist stuff. I'll link to them in the description below for anybody that wants to check out some of these sounds. But these are a whole bunch of things that I just wanted to accent different moments in this arrangement. Some swell ups like this. Real subtle. What's going on there in this tune? So just leading to that first downbeat, I wanted to have a little rumble. There's another rumble here. Heading into that first verse. Here's a hit right before the first chorus. A marching bass drum and some sort of sound design hit. Here's, looks like I reversed a couple hits to make these. Oh, and here, before this plays, actually, I'll describe what's going on with this airport terminal sound right here. One of those rug pulling or pulling the floor out from underneath you moments. I don't know why, but I just thought I wanted to be in an airport for this second verse when we pull out some of the bottom end of the mix. So I layered in some terminal, an airport terminal, just effects from the real world, and just kind of layered it in to this second verse here, which is what follows these rising effects. So I filtered it quite a bit. I think I've got some EQ going on. I made it artificially stereo. Oh, and it's running through my bass processor. I will explain that in a minute and how I use that. But I've got a separate bus for making things wide, a little wider than the speakers. And there's this old unit called the Bedini Audio Spatial Environment. And I've got that set up on aux. So this is one of those elements, the airport, that I sent to that aux to make things a little wider. I'll explain that in a little bit when we get through all the tracks. There's also, it sounds like there's some radio interference in here or some sort of tuning. Yeah. So just some rising tuning effects helping this moment to just kind of sell this rising drama right at the spot. With a hard mute right when the vocal comes in, just to kind of sell it. Then there's this sub fall. I love stuff like this. Just sub synth doing a little drop in pitch right at the critical moment of the song. Got a little delay on it. It sounds like when we tracked it. We did that live, played it live, programmed a portamento slide that was the length we wanted, and tracked it in. There's another rumble here. Lots of sound design. Another swell rumble thing. Another marching drum. Another rumble. And then these rises here, these whooshes, some cymbals, a moving swell. This is all building towards our ending. So this is halfway through that outro. I also think one of those is an airplane taking off that I stretched. What's this one? That's just some weird sound design that's rising in tone. That reads a little bit like a jet taking off. again, just the 30,000 foot visual and the metaphor. I just thought having some plane sounds in airport might be a little too on the nose, but in the moment I thought it was kind of interesting. Here's a cymbal and a moving swell. What is this? Oh, another cymbal. Layering cymbals, hopefully for meaningful effect. All right, there's a little orchestral stuff over the intro. I think it's another droning note that just has some live orchestral feel to it, just some texture. That's this one. What are we doing here? A little compressor? Oh, a little reverb. Yeah, so just a droning note that rises subtly through this whole opening. And the little pitch variations, I think it just helps sell the fact that at some point in a whole bunch of these tracks, there was air moving. This isn't all, you know, software and direct instruments. You hear that on these next pads and on the electric piano. Always trying to get air moving, just to provide some real world context for music like this. Here's this pad that we made. I don't know what the original sound was. It looks like I'm EQing a little bit, doing some cassette stuff, and another EQ. Pretty subtle. It looks like we were playing something live because it gets a little more, in the first chorus here, it gets a little more active. Just tonal, drony textures to help with the movement and the mystery of the whole thing. And I remember one of the first things we did was take some percussion and run it through some glitching effects. I want to say this was Microcosm on this percussion early on, right when Microcosm came out. I believe I was one of the, was it a Kickstarter or some sort of crowdfunded production run? And I was one of the first, I think I'm in the first 100. What is this thing? Serial number MC083. I believe this is that, the results of that. And I ran percussion for the whole length of the song, as you can see here, all this stuff. But sometimes it was too much. You know, when we drop out for the verse, I just thought having all this happen while Owen was singing was too much. So I muted that big section there, brought in a little bit in the last bar just to kind of help set up the pre-chorus. And they're kind of coming and going, just a little ear candy. And again, just muted sections when I thought it was stepping on whatever was going else, usually in the lead vocal. What lead vocal there is on this song. It's really just kind of a vocal stack the whole time that bends and evolves. Here's a hi-hat that we put on the end of the tune. I think we kept it. Yeah. Real straight drum machine-y, just helping sell some of the motion as we get to that last chorus. What's going on here? So I'm just taking off a whole bunch of top end and making it a bit more lo-fi with that. Beautiful Wolfpack compressor. I stinking love Goodhertz. So many good tools. Here's a synth bass that we made. This is before I had my Moog, so I don't remember what synth this was. It might be a sine wave generator in Pro Tools that we just added some filtering and some harmonics to. I don't think we did anything too crazy on this. We just wanted a sub bass for the whole song. So that's the bass. Real basic. Huh. Bass pun. It's a little bass moment. Some delay and reverb. Just helping sell the end of that breakdown in the second verse when the airport happens. This little bass moment.
The higher we go, the better.
Just a little bottom end to that drama. This electric piano was played by Owen. I had a Fender Rhodes in my control room back in Milwaukee. And this is him playing the Rhodes live, the microphone on the cabinet. You can hear a little foot noise. We're both sitting in the room. There's definitely some other things happening in the air. Hear all that kind of panning noise and real world stuff. Again, I love getting air moving and making sure that there's some real world air happening in song production like this. So this electric piano part is a big part of that, just leaving in some of the happenstance and not correcting anything, just having him play it. We added this panning, swirling effect, but this is his live performance that we just laid over the whole song. Some more keys here. It's labeled piano. Let's see what this is. Oh, that's not a piano. Or it might have started as a piano. I honestly don't know. Looks like I RX'd it to get some noise out. Ran soothe. And a compressor to kind of make it pump. That's a weird one. I don't know what that is. Just a little texture in that first pre-chorus. Then we put some organ when we hit the first chorus, and then it appears again at the second chorus over here. Let's see what this organ's doing. Little culture vulture on there, little plate, an EQ, and another EQ. So just a little counter melody in that first chorus when it comes in, and some lingering guitar effects apparently. So we doubled this organ. I think I just did a layer. Yeah, kind of a bottom end roomy thing. I used the Oceanway room to kind of put the organ in a space just to get a little more air around it. Although this is synthesized air, this was not an actual organ. And Toop, again, good hertz. I mean, come on, listen to this. So that's a direct, keyboard playing a organ sound. And after Toop, get that lovely bottom end on there, and then through the Oceanway to just put it in a space. Anyway, that's the two organs. Looks like we got some more effects here. This is just on the intro. What is this? Oh, I grabbed some of the outro trail, and looks like I was going to reverse it, but I don't know if this is reversed actually. But I just put that over the intro just to create a little more intrigue as the intro was building. Then there's this pad, which I'm curious to hear this without all this stuff. So this is, okay, I believe this was the organ track run out through pedals, and we recorded that back into the box here. And then started adding these plugins. Soothe, just to take a little of the edge off. Wolf compressor. Pan Man. Just to send it around your head a little bit into Echo Boy. Your little trail behind all the notes now. Brower Motion to make it spin even more and actually have it kind of fade and go away. That whole mess got sent into another Echo Boy. Adding some of that trail as it's passing around your head. And another EQ just to dull it up a bit and take some of the bottom end out. So this is that droning, glitchy, synthy sound that's kind of happening through the whole song. This is kind of swirling around your head, your texture. I took care to mute it for the big drop off at verse 2 when the airport comes in and the vocal is more featured. That's the only time that piece got muted. And there's our vocal stacks. There's these three main parts. A monotone part that I tuned hard to a single note for the whole song. A harmony part that we actually created using the hard-tuned main vocal and wrote automation using Sound Toys Alter Boy to create the harmonic movement. So that's these two together.
But if we only go higher,
All those moves. That's us, mainly Owen, writing those harmonic parts, those melodies in automation. Again, very intentionally. We were never intending to have this vocal present as a normal vocal. This is definitely the vision for this tune. What's happening on this third vocal part here?
but if we only go higher.
So that's a little vocal synth and some formant shifting to create a lower part. So,
But if we only go higher, oh, I'm higher.
and with effects, it's this.
But if we only go higher, oh, I'm higher. We won't have to sing.
So a lot going on in the vocal. And I think in retrospect, maybe rendered it a little unintelligible. It's just kind of this soup of sonic stuff. I do like it emotionally, but we lose the lyric a little bit. I'm not particularly proud of that. So do check out the lyrics when you check out the song, because I know the lyrics mean a lot to Owen. And the final production ended up a bit more murky than if we were doing a record for Owen and he was going to be presenting it as a song of his own as a singer-songwriter. There's some acoustic guitar in here. That's these bits, which ended up, I think we treated on the way in, because there's nothing going on here on the channel. Oh, these, okay. Again, some headphone bleed and a little tape stop. Like, one of my favorite tricks is that verify. So the end of this thing is a little tape stop, treating it almost like I wanted it to feel like this little sample that we dropped in a couple times, even though the performance was through the whole song. The headphone bleed and noise comes up with the compressor I was doing in the studio live. Again, tape stop. Kind of pick some pieces that felt like a kind of a sampley sounding hook, and we drop them in from time to time through the song. There's another acoustic guitar here that comes in. It's a chuggy thing for the choruses. Just a couple repeating notes. Just provide that motion, that kind of pedal tone motion through the chorus. I have my friend, this is actually one of the first sessions I did when I moved to Seattle a couple years ago. I tracked these guitars at Electrokitty, and this is my friend Ryan Leva, who's become a friend since being here in Seattle. He's been really good to me, and we've worked together on a whole bunch of stuff, including some stuff coming up that I hope I can tell you about soon. But this is Ryan just adding some guitar sustain to various moments in the song. I think we ran a couple passes, and I took some bits and just dropped them where I wanted them in the song. That's this. Pretty subtle up front. And they're going through Supermassive, God Bless America, Valhalla. I don't understand how this is free. I'm assuming everybody watching this video knows this, but if you don't know, go check out Valhalla's plugins. They've got free stuff, including this insane Supermassive, which is so much fun, incredible for sound design, and it's free. It doesn't make any sense to me. They still update it. There's new presets. At least the last couple of years, there's been new presets that they offer, new models, new modes. Just a phenomenal tool and company. They're great. So Supermassive goes into Echo Boy here. I'll play you this next guitar chunk. Looks like it's just doing a set to this ambient patch. And we're hitting a little RC20 just to kind of vintage-fy it a little bit, and some soothe. Just to pull out some resonances. So these guitar washes are variations on a theme, as you can hear. I don't remember where we got that tremolo from. That might have been Ryan doing it on the date that we were tracking. So there's guitar moments like that through the whole song. And then in verse 2, they get a little bigger here. Again, just helping sell that moment that the airport ends. And then there's a little rise coming out of this section. Fun stuff. That's all hitting this ambient guitar channel that I showed you these plugins already. There's more guitar at the end doing some chug stuff. What's going on here? I wanted to add a bit of groove on guitar when Devin plays that beat on the end here on the outro. So that's in there on the outro. And we're doing just a little compression and EQ. That's those. So just to explain this bass unit aux then for a second, I've got this set up as an aux in my mix world here. It looks like I imported a bunch of goofy bus names here. Anyway, set this up on an aux, and on the aux bus, I insert my hardware insert here. So I've got some cables under my desk for random gear. I've got my stereo spring here in the rack that's analog and wired in all the time. The bass unit, which is what we'll talk about. I've got some transformers from UTC that are available on a patch point. And we've got this 2-bus chain here, the Crane Song head into an Obsidian compressor, and my retro 2A3 tube EQ. Got a couple more ins and outs here just for monitoring. So on this aux input, I insert this analog insert, this bass unit. And it's just a stereo processor from many, many years ago that is not made or available anymore. I found it on, I knew about it and found it on eBay, I want to say maybe 8 years ago, 10 years ago. If I told you how cheap I got this thing for, you would reach through the screen and want to strangle me. I'm exceedingly grateful that I scored this. I don't think many people know about it. I shouldn't even really talk about it, should I? But if you know about it and you have any connections for wiring or service, that's probably why I should talk about it, in case there's other bass units out there that we could connect and figure out, God help me if anything ever goes wrong with this thing. But it's been rock solid since I got it. This bass unit provides some stereo information that kind of sits outside the speakers, psychoacoustic, stereoization, that kind of thing. I'll turn it up just to kind of demonstrate the effect. So that's cranked 12 dB. Here it is off. There it is on the sides again. It's a little subtle, but it just fills things out around your head in a really lovely way. And that's how I run that. It's part of my mix template. On this track, I didn't really build this mix using my template, so it's just kind of a bunch of processed sounds with some final touches that ended up creating this mix this way, because that's where we were, and we brought it across the finish line without flipping over to a mix session. And I'm running a mix bus for the whole thing, which includes this lovely Vertigo compressor. Not doing much in these sections. Plus a little ML4 from Mic DSP. And the Oxford inflator as a final finish. And it looks like my levels are pretty good shape here for sending off to mastering. Justin Perkins mastered this track. That's all the ingredients that make up the soup that is 30,000 feet. From myself as Holtergeist and my friend Owen Sartori, who wrote the vocal and the original piano part that we transformed into this layered soundscape. All right, I hope there was something in here that you found interesting. I will maybe do this again. I don't know if I'm going to do it again. I'll probably do it again because I like talking about the stuff that makes up the records. Why not? All right, I will see you again next time.